On the road out, there are important metrics, important benchmarks that were advised today by the AHPPC that will inform the National Cabinet's decisions about the easing of restrictions when that is deemed possible. And the most important of those is what's called the effective reproduction rate. Now, I'm not going to give you a lecture on that. I'm going to let Professor Murphy do that and take you through what that means and how that works. But there is some encouraging signs on that front, and we need to hold our performance in relation to the effective reproduction rate, and we're looking at that by state. That is the most important way to look at how we're tracking in relation to those statistics. So in order to understand how and when we can move, then those metrics are important to give us a guide. But we agreed today on the basis of the advice, and it's something I've been talking about for a few days. There are three things we need to get in place. The first of those is a more extensive surveillance, or sentinel as it's called, testing regime. So beyond just those who are symptomatic. If we are to move to a different phase when it comes to the restrictions, we need an even broader testing regime than we have at this point. Now, we have one of, if not the most extensive testing regimes in the world today. But we need to do even better than that to ensure that we can have greater confidence that when we move to a lesser restriction environment, then we can have confidence that we'll be able to identify any outbreaks very, very quickly and respond to them. The second part of that is ensuring that we have an even greater tracing capability than we have now. Now, I want to commend the state governments. This has been the real heavy lifting they have been doing over the last several weeks in really boosting their capability to trace cases. They are a team of Sherlock Holmeses out there at the moment, and they are doing a fantastic job on tracking down these cases. But we need to lift that to an industrial capability, and we need to do that using technology, and we need to do that as soon as we possibly can, and we'll be needing the support of Australians. If we can get that in place, we get our tracing capability up from where it is, then that is going to give us more options and Australia's more freedoms. And the third area is that we need a local response capability. And we're seeing this in part right now in northwestern Tasmania, where we have an outbreak. The Australian Defence Forces, the AUSMAT teams working together with state authorities have been moving very quickly to contain that outbreak. And there will be other outbreaks in other parts of the country. And in all states and territories, we need that ability to move very fast to be able to lock down an outbreak where it occurs and to ensure that it does not transmit more broadly within the community. If you're going to move to an environment where there are fewer restrictions, then you need these three things in place. And National Cabinet agreed today that we will use the next 4 weeks to ensure that we can get these in place. And the baseline restrictions that have been set some weeks ago will remain in place until we're able to achieve those three goals. And we will be reviewing that in the next 4 weeks. A positive thing to say is that we've often found ourselves, as we have now, in a better place ahead of time, and if we're able to achieve that, well and good. But we want to be very clear with Australians that the baseline restrictions that we have in place at the moment, there are no plans to change those for the next 4 weeks. In terms of states that have gone beyond the baseline restrictions, and that includes how they may be enforcing measures, or there are some restrictions that are put in place in some states and not in others. Those states will take the advantage over the next few weeks, and they will make their own decisions whether they want to change any of those arrangements on their own circumstances. And so I would refer you to the individual states and territories where they may choose to do that over the next few weeks. One of those areas which we'll be considering again on Tuesday is the issue of elective surgery, and there's a bit more work to do on that, but we'll be considering elective surgery next Tuesday. And finally, on the issue on the health issues, on 6 months, we've often talked about what is the 6 months, when did it start, when does it end? This is the June and September quarter. I've always considered the 6 months the period in which we've been operating and will be operating these lifeline measures into the economy, which is JobSeeker with the JobSeeker supplement and JobKeeper. They run for those 6 months periods. We have bought that time to find the road out. Now, whether we do or not, no country has at this point, but this is our goal, to ensure that we can get the economy at a level which would not require those extreme levels of income supports, and the economy would be able to support people on those incomes in a self-sustaining way. We have bought that time for 6 months and we intend to use it wisely. We would expect that there would be restrictions in some form or another running over that entire 6-month period, but the degree of those and how much they can be relaxed or changed over that period, well, that will very much depend on the circumstances, the health and the economic bias at the time.